just to make double sure, everybody has their iPhone, right? Your smartphone just in
Yes.
case. Okay. Okay, we won't use it yet, but we will use it. All right, so I do have to do a little bit of a blurb and background, but we did just go through that. So Jolie and I are actually what we call Data Dissemination Specialists, and we come out and teach people how to find census data. And so that is a free service from the Census Bureau, and we do like people to contact us and say, come out and do a presentation or do it virtually. Okay, so what else does the Census Bureau do, or what do we do? We are a contractor, or we are like a contractor. We are paid by other federal agencies and even the city of New York to do surveys for them, and even kind of censuses for them. So these are some things that are done out of the regional office in Lower Manhattan. So there are other surveys done directly from our headquarters in Washington, but these are done directly as a sample from our Manhattan office, and the data goes over to these other federal agencies, and then they put that on their website as they need to. So we're just collecting the data for them using our staff, our field representatives, and then they take that data and they disseminate it the way they need to, okay? So all these other federal agencies usually have some place on their website that they have data, okay? These things down here, though, survey of SIP, we call it, survey of income and program participation, and I think CPS, I didn't put that here, and American Community Survey are actually our own surveys, and we sort of release that data on our website. And so we will actually look at this today, the American Community Survey. That is our biggest survey. I did leave a couple books here, and I left stickers there if anybody wants it, and ACS data reels too. Okay, but I'm going to just sort of back up just a little bit. Everybody knows us for this. This is what we're famous for, a decennial census once every 10 years. The years that end in a 0, those are the years we carry out the census, and it's on for April 1st. Okay, everybody's pegged to that date. And by the way, if students are supposed to be at a university, that's where they get counted. Okay. It is the official count of population. We don't ask too much in this census, right? We asked 10 questions, I think maybe even 9 questions. The last census, I think maybe 2 of the questions are just about what's your name, are you sure that's your name? That sort of thing. And then we get on to a few things, and then the other thing we need to know, though, everything is accounted for. Okay, so it's a complete census. We have gone to every housing unit. We mail to every housing unit. If they don't mail back, we go and visit them. And we try to get them to do the census. If they don't do it, or we can't find somebody, we may go to the neighbors, and that's sometimes called a proxy, okay, to get that information. But everything has to be accounted for in the end. Okay? As opposed to this is the American Community Survey. So this is an ongoing survey every month of every year. We are out there, and we actually even did this survey during the decennial census. Okay, we did not stop for a little thing called a decennial census, right? So American Community Survey, 3.5 million addresses are selected every year. In some parts of the country where it's harder to count people, we over-select. Okay, if we need 100 response, we may select 150. All right, so it's not exactly the same everywhere in the country, but there's sort of an algorithm that figures this out for us. Okay, it is an impartial survey, so a lot like the Decennial. We are mailing out to an address. We don't know if anybody lives there. We don't know what they look like. We don't know if they look like us. We don't know anything about them. Okay, and then we want them to either send that back, do it online. But if we get no response, we are going to send somebody there to knock on their door to get that survey out of them. Okay, it is actually mandatory. I just put this in here, some of the different ways that geography levels that we look for data, but the census tract is probably our showcase geography, and that's sort of like something we invented, and we sort of say to people, this is probably the best place to look for data as a census tract level. Data is released every year. We release 1-year and 5-year data, and we release it in September and December. And so in another slide, I'm going to explain that to you a little bit more. This is what the survey looks like if you saw it in paper form. I do like to show this because we allow people just to write things in. Okay, you could check off the box, but if it doesn't fit, who you are, or, what you think you are, who you think you are, you just write it in here, and we have software that can do that. Okay, and it will kind of peg you into a certain place. But if we get something new in here, like we'll just say somebody Rohingya or something of that sort, and there's a surge in that, many people are coming into the country, we may consider taking that data point and releasing that to the public going forward, right? Notice I put in here people's race as well, and so I like to draw attention to this. Hispanic to us is not race. Hispanic is something else, right? So Hispanic, and then you could be Hispanic, and you could be whatever race you choose down here, right? Or you can put something down here. I want to just say, not everybody understands. My wife is from Brazil. She does not understand race. Okay? So not everybody understands race. And I think we received the ACS one time, and something else from the census another time. My wife just hands it to me, and she says, "You figure out what you're going to put there." So, all right. So American Community Survey, there are 72 questions on the American Community Survey. All right, so it's a lot of questions. We are happy if you answer most of those questions. Okay, so that's the best way to say that. If you get this, please answer as many questions as you possibly can. Whether that means you can or you're comfortable with it, right? We are asking deep questions like how much do you make? What time of day do you leave to go to work? How do you go to work? And what time do you arrive at work? How long does it take? Well, we probably don't ask you how long it takes. We ask you what time you leave, what time do you arrive, and we figure out the length of time. Okay? So deep characteristics we're asking. And interestingly enough, this survey, we are not really interested in your name. Okay, everybody has an ego, but at this point we're saying, we're asking your name for purposes of getting back to you if there's something wrong. But in general, you don't really have to give us your name. So our survey people will say, if you want to just be known as person 1 or person 2, or head of household, or father, mother, sister, brother, you can do that if you want to. And we will go ahead with the survey. These are sort of the tables we will look at today, just B, C, and S tables and DP tables, and I'll explain that as we go through. Once again, track level availability. All right, so notice this up here, just some more questions so you know what it looks like. What is this person's ancestry? You can just write it in. Okay, there's not even anything to check off. And then a little bit of information about the language. I'd like to show that here's a question, but it's A, B, and C. Okay, so it's more than what it looks like. Okay, that said, there is something in the Federal Register we're thinking of doing away with the ancestry question. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I show people the ancestry data a lot of the time. Okay. So I did throw this in here. I just want you to know that this is an American Community Survey that has their own chunk of the Census Bureau's real estate online. Okay, so it has its own website. You can go there and you can look up all sorts of information. So you can sort of get to some of the data there. Microdata we have as well. And then like the book that I have here, I think there's a PDF version online, and the methodology. And you can go look at the questionnaires going back in time if you want to, because the questionnaires do change a little bit from year to year. Not always, but once in a while they change. Okay, so just want you to know ACS has its own website. When we're looking at the tranches of data that we have here, right? So we have social data, economic, housing, and demographic data. Okay, so the demographic data is sort of comparable to that 10-year census data. It looks a little bit like that, but these other things don't. All right, so look at this. We have all these things in here. And then we have economic as well, so occupation that people are working in, the industry they work in, their commute, or do they work from home, that sort of thing. And then we have all this housing. So this survey is not just about people, it is about housing. So 1/4 of that is about the house, or the housing unit itself. If we go out and do this survey and we get to a house, or housing unit we call it, and nobody lives there, and we can't figure out what's, nobody seems to come back, or for some reason sometimes we sense it. We can say, okay, got 20 papers piled up on the front lawn, and garbage is totally empty. We know it's uninhabited, right? So then probably what we would do is we interview the unit. So we go to the tax office and we get as much data as we can about that unit without actually telling the tax person which address it is, okay? Because we aren't really allowed to do that. So we get as much as we can. We may not get all of this information, but we get as much of it as we can, okay? And we may never get all this other about the demographics because nobody's really living there, okay? So, because there's an interest in figuring out how many vacancies are around the country, or where do you have an area like maybe the Jersey Shore, right, where there's thousands of housing units, but people aren't really living there all the time. So there is an interest in finding out that data as well. So this is my little geography lesson. I'm not going to say this is the best geography lesson, but you need to be aware of it, as you're looking at our data. So this is a block. Every block in the country is numbered. There's a centroid, and there's a polygon, and it has a number, right? And they are renumbered every 10 years just before the decennial census. Okay, this data, you can get the decennial data down to the block level. So you can get actually a head count down to the block level. How many housing units, how many people, what race they are, what sex they are, and I think that's it. And then the blocks nest within a block group, okay? And there's usually, I think, like maybe 1,000 people that live in a block group, or maybe 1,500 people on average. You can get some data at the block group level for ACS. Okay, so you can get some data. You may have high margins of error as well. Okay, I don't tend to recommend going to the block group level, but some people do, and sometimes it works. And the block groups nest within a tract, and usually there's like 3 or 4 block groups within a tract. Okay, and when you get to the census tract, that is our showcase geography. Okay, so that's the one that we like to say, this is what we invented. It is a statistical unit for you to look at data through time, going back through time, and you can compare now to 10 years ago, to 20 years ago, that sort of thing, and see how things have changed. All right, so if you're looking at racial changes, that's the best way to go. You look at that tract, and you look at it going back through time. Okay? And the tract number, even though the block numbers sometimes change, the tract numbers tend to stay the same. Okay? And we actually won't change the boundaries of the tracts either. We don't like to do that. But usually, I know we're in university now, but if I'm more of a public session, there's always some developer who says, oh, can you move that tract boundary over 1 block? That way it will change the things, and we can build our 25 floor condominium or whatever. And we don't do that for anybody. Okay, so tracts nest within the county, but not necessarily within a city. Okay, so if you're in the rest of the country, so if you're in an area like Houston, Texas, or Atlanta, Georgia, those cities are always expanding. They're like tentacles, right? They're pushing out, and we're not going to change a tract. So here could be a square tract, and maybe the city boundary goes like right down the middle. So it's not really comparable, okay? However, for New York State, and New England, and New Jersey, and I think even Pennsylvania, the Northeast, it kind of works, okay? Because our cities and the boundaries are set up so long ago, right? 100 years ago, probably, nothing much really changes. There's no room for expansion. So these tracts were kind of nested within towns in New York State and along the same borders as the towns and the cities. Now sometimes you will see a village. Villages kind of come into existence and sometimes go out of existence, and they move, so the village boundaries don't often, I won't say often, but sometimes will not align to the tracts. But the towns and the cities usually will. Okay, so that works pretty well for New England and New York and New Jersey. All right, so counties, that's within the state, so we know what that's all about, that's fine. States within the US. So this is the main way to look for data for Decennial and for ACS. Many people go that route. But then we have all these other options over here. So we have zip code tabulation area. You can get data by zip code. You can get it by place. So place would be a city or village in New York State. Minor civil division is a town in New York State, but we usually use this terminology, county subdivision. So when you go looking for it in our database, you're probably going to look under the wording county subdivision, and you will find the towns, okay, or townships. Right? So congressional districts, you can look for data that way. You can look by school district. Doesn't really work too well for New York City because it's just one big school district, right? And then we have this thing called PUMAs, which are a public use microdata area. That's an area over 100,000 people in it. And there's statistical areas that the Census Bureau has created, except because they're so large in population, there's actually more data in there. So that's why it's called microdata. Okay, so we have more data points in there, we get more information. Right? There's no test on this subject. All right, so I like to talk about this, population thresholds. So there used to be this show that my grandparents told me about. So that was a long time ago, called the $64,000 question. So I'd say this is a $65,000 question. Right? So how this works is 65,000 and above, you can get data every year from ACS. It's called one-year data. The sample is large enough that every year in September, when we release this one-year data, right, after that date, you can get data for the previous year. Okay, so it works for like Westchester County, it works for New York City, or maybe like Bronx County, New York State. I don't know what the other big cities, like Rochester, New York, or Buffalo, that sort of thing, and in the bigger counties. But once you go below 65,000 in population, you must use this. It's called the 5-year data. So 5-year data means we have taken a sample over 5 years, and after the 5th year, in December, we release that data. And we release the data every year. So it's always an overlap in the data that we've ingested. But it's a longer time period that we took it in. And we have to do that because the sample is not really large enough. We don't want to increase the sample because it's burdening the public. Okay? So I tend to tell people just look for 5-year data anyway, because you can get 5-year data for anything, for any population, whether it's over 65,000, under 65,000, and half the counties in New York State are under 65,000 in population. So if you wanted to get data for all the counties in New York State, you do want to use the 5-year data to be comparable. Okay? So that data every year is released in December. Data is good, down to about 4,000 population. 4,000 is the average population of census tracts around the country. So this was done on purpose, by design. And then once you start going below 4,000, the margin of error starts to climb a little bit. A little bit, and then a lot, and a lot. Okay, so you do want to pay attention to population and your margins of error, and you might say, sometimes you're going to have to say to somebody, don't know if you want to use that data. Okay? And I will tell you the truth, most people don't care. They turn off the margin, they just say, oh, there's a button to turn off the margin of error, I don't want to look at it, turn it off, and let's use the data. Okay, so anyway, that's how that works. Any questions about this so far? This one. Okay. I put this in here, don't know if this is really helpful, but when you go looking at data.census.gov today, first thing you need to do is define your unit of analysis, okay? So we're going to go in, define our year, and then the unit of analysis. So if you say, I want data, tracked data, that you push a button and it says tracked, and then you have to go back up to the top and start. Okay, you say, okay, track, we know it's in the US, but what state? And then what county? And then within that county, it's this track number. Okay? Or if you were to say, for example, county subdivision, meaning a town, you sort of say, okay, my unit of analysis, I push the button, I go back up, I say, okay, which state, which county, and then county subdivision. Okay, so a lot of people don't do that. They forget to click the button, you know, the thing that I call unit of analysis, and they just sort of start going through the thing, and they can't find what they want. Okay, so this is like kind of the thing you really have to pay attention to going through here. And you know, and this is here to use to remind you what to do, but once you do this enough and you become a power user, you're okay. Okay, you say, I know what to do.
Is there, if you don't know off the top of your head the tract, like if it's a number or something, is there a way to determine?
Yes, I'm going to teach you a secret way that's not in the system. Yeah, so maybe I'll teach you 2 different ways, okay? So I am going to...
if it's better later, that's fine.
Yeah, I will. I may go off script a little bit and show you a census website that's not ours. Okay, so I don't know if this is important to people, but I always find that some people need to understand how we do the table numbering, and so all tables get a number, and so for example, that first digit in the table, okay, tells you what kind of table it's going to be. Okay, so I talked about DP tables before. A DP table, data profile, those are the Walmarts of tables. They have a lot of data in them, a little bit about each thing, but they don't really delve into topic too much. Okay, so you could get a number that would just say DPO4 or DPO5 or something like that. So DPO5 would just be from here that way, right? It's a DPO5. So, but B is a base table. It's like just one specific thing. C is one specific thing as well. So that's sort of been collapsed. Okay, a little bit, and then we have subject tables, and then we have DP tables. Like I said, we also have this in comparative profile table. So people do talk about trends. What kind of trends do we look at? And I say, well, I can't really, you know, make the analysis for you, but we can look at the comparative profile, and it will take a chunk of 5-year data, and then the next chunk of 5-year data, and it will make the comparison, and it will have a little asterisk there, and I say, where there's something that has changed significantly. And it kind of lets you know what's happening in an area. Okay, so we do have that table as well. So this is the second part, and when we get down here, it's sort of the next 2 digits are the broad subject area, and there's sort of another place we can look this up. I think it's on the ACS website. It goes up to 29 topics, but just as an example, 01 tables are going to be age and sex, and 2 race, and then just sort of goes down the line like that. So there is kind of a system behind it. There's a method to it. And then just so we know, the next 3 digits are sort of uniquely within that area, topic area. Okay, nothing to really worry about, but sometimes it helps to know. And then this, when we get to the end, we have a suffix. We could have a suffix. Okay, if there's no suffix, it's just your regular table, whatever the topic is, but if it has a suffix, it means it's dealing with only one race. Okay, so we do have that in there as well, and you can go in and look at that, and sometimes that could be very helpful for people. So, okay, and then today we're going to look at a couple of things. So here's the main thing we're going to look at today is data.census.gov. It's what we call this as a URL, right? We also call it Explore Census Data. Some people say, why don't you just give it a name? The idea is that all federal agencies are going to data, right? And so you'll have like, I can't even think of one, like data.bls.gov, data.cdc.gov. So we're all trying to do that, okay? Probably like 1/4 of the federal agencies have actually gone that route so far. Okay, and some of them are not, like I think it's DOT, Department of Transportation. There's actually data.transportation.gov, so it's not always, Anyway, so that's the URL. The key to this is not necessarily here. This is probably for people to use on their iPhone, but instead it's here, advanced search. Okay, so that's where I'm going to lead you today, to advanced search. And then you have more control over that when you're in advanced search. Okay, a lot of filtering can go on there. We have all sorts of data in here. It is not just American Community Survey, it's also Decennial. It's from many different years. We're trying to get all sorts of things in there, population estimates and on and on and on, census of governments. It doesn't all work always the way we want it to, but multiple surveys are in there. Going back to the year 2000, we are not working backwards. Okay, we started in 2000, we're just going forwards. Okay, so if anybody needs historic data, we went through this morning. Is that IPUMS or IPUMS, NHGIS, and it's run by, I think, University of Missouri, I think. So they are taking all our data and trying to digitize it and put it historically in there going back through time. Okay, so that is not our website, but NHGIS, I think is what it's called. Okay, and we will look at this too. This is another thing. We will do this on our phones. This is the narrative profile. So the narrative profile works really well on your phone. You can select a single geography and a year, and it's only 5-year data. We can collapse it. It is not copyrighted. Okay, it is meant for you to copy and steal, whatever you want to say. And you click on it, and it has all the data written out. Okay, it's for grant writers or people who don't really want to look at data tables. So it comes written out. It has some charts and graphs for you as well. And people can just copy it and paste it into a PowerPoint if they want to, or they can put it into a report if they want to. Whatever they want to do, it's just not copyrighted, okay? And it is on purpose, right? So, all right, and so this is me and this is Jolie. This is my last slide before I go into the site, and I think you'll have the slide deck, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, and I just put some other sites, just some sites up here. So the top one is the ACS site and the data.census. This is the narrative profile. This is my tribal area. That's a website to look up tribal information. And then this is not ours. It's called censusreporter.org. And so it was created for, I think, reporters to get data quickly about the census. It has some perks to it that our site doesn't have. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. I will do this.
I actually do have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the best time for it, but you're asking a lot of very personal information and asking people's names, so I'm curious about the privacy issues, right? Like, what does the census do? Do they strip that name out somehow, or and then what's the rate of return on when you send this? I know you said you go to them, but do people willingly fill out all of this information since there's so much? Or do you, is it like an 80% or like what?
Yeah, well, I think the ACS is going to tell you that's like a 99% response. I think it probably is, but that is not, I don't know what percentage is maybe not the easy chunk of that response,
Gotcha. They'll say what kind of house they live in, leave it at
Yeah,
that.
I mean, there will be, okay, we're going to mail a letter to you, and you see that, and you could directly go online before we even send you a questionnaire and do it online. Would you? I don't know. Would you? I don't know if you would. But anyway, then a week later, if you haven't done that, you're going to get the questionnaire, and you can do it the old-fashioned way, on a questionnaire, mail it back. Or it will still give you the code, and you can go online and do it as well. If you don't do either of those, a month later, we will send somebody to your house to try to get you to do that survey with them. And then you're telling somebody and they're putting it into a computer. So it is very private. We don't really want your neighbors to even know that you got the ACS. We're not going to divulge that to your neighbors. And once we get the data from you or whatever, it's just going to get aggregated into the average. And then your name is stripped from that data. Okay, it's removed.
The other thing is, what if you send it to the one family of a specific race in an area, then you can sort of deduce that that's their income, that's their all, you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're sending it to families and you can sort of figure out probably who is doing it, who is
Well, do
filling it
people
out?
have access to the individual responses or just the aggregate?
Right, but if they can get it down to a census tract, if they're
Right, but
only,
Rachel, it'll be suppressed. If there's
I
not-
did, oh, okay,
There's
that's,
not significant enough data, which is why
Oh.
when people are like, I want to look for information only on this block,
Yeah.
we say like, well, you can see what's available, but you'll see there's very little available when you get to the tract level, but even at the tract level, sometimes there'll be certain information that's suppressed.
okay, so that people can't tell which family or families it is, right?
You can't, certainly not for ACS. For the Decennial, we're getting down to a more granular level, right? And it's a block.
Right.
And let's say there are only 3 houses in the block, and you could kind of figure out what's going on. What we actually do is take those addresses and we flip that data over into another block. And so that block might actually have 3 homes in it, and there's no data there.
Gotcha.
Well, also the decennial, there's fewer questions. You're not getting into
Yeah.
Less to give away.
income and all the other
Right.
stuff. It's
Right. And the ACS, it's just a bigger.
Automatically bigger number.
Yeah, and also some of it won't even be numbers, it'll just be percentages within the block, so you can't always quite tell. And then we do a little bit of, we call it data scrambling. So yeah, if there's too much of an extreme or outlier that brings attention to that, it may get, whatever that means, scrambled a little bit. Okay, so, yeah, did I answer the question?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, so let's just go here. Now, okay, you can't see the screen, all right. So the first thing is, this is how we're going to get here, which is data.census.gov, right? And you want to get here, and you could certainly put information in here, and it will generate a response for you, a little bit like Google. You could put in New York City and age or something, and you will get information. It looks really good. You just have no control over what you will get. Okay, so that is not the route I go. So I'm going to teach you how to do this. Advanced search, and we will just look at maybe a couple things to see. But I want you to just get the feel for it first. Okay, we're going to do an exercise together. All right, so first thing I tell you to do is when you get here, it looks like you have nothing, right? Like you just say, what do I do? It's just a white screen. But what it really wants you to do is start over here with these filters, okay? Let me get that a little bit bigger. Yes. Yeah, a little bit bigger. Okay, so is it going off the screen too much?
there you go.
All right, so we want to choose a year first, and when we look at these years, I do want to tell you the top one is never really there yet. Okay, it will be at the end of this year, okay, more or less. So right now, we can choose data for 2021, right? And then from there, I tend to tell people to look at geographies. So, let me put on my glasses, let me do this. So we'll look at, let's look at Bronx. We're in Bronxville, right? Okay, so let's look at Bronxville. What do you think? Bronxville is what is it?
I don't know.
Is it, I guess it's a village? Probably village.
Village, yeah.
Okay, so let's look for Bronxville. All right, so we're going to come here and we're going to say, okay, what is my geography? So it's a village. A village in the eyes of the federal government is a place, okay? So we have 2 types of places in our repertoire, we'll say. We have what are incorporated places, and then we also have, as we go down, veteran status, disability, residence a year ago, were they there, were they not, place of birth. So these things are all just touching the surface. If you see something all in capital letters, it means that somewhere else we have a few tables that drill right into that topic. Okay. I'm going to go just let you know, I know during Decennial they said we don't ask, are you a citizen? But we do ask that in ACS. Okay, so the question is not, are you illegal? The question is, are you an American citizen? And they say yes, we say, were you born here or are you naturalized? And then they tell us, and then that's it. And then if they don't, we don't, the rest of it, we just assume that the rest of the population are not US citizens. Okay. So I just want to point that out, all right? So this kind of information, kind of what region do people come from? So for Bronxville, 30% came from Europe. Does this sound right? 47% from Asia. So, is Sarah Lawrence College in Bronxville? It's part of
Sort
the
of.
American Community Survey.
Mhm.
So we come in and we knock on, we go to visit people, we mail things out, but we also send people to universities. We have this computer, they come the day before, 2 days before, and it runs an algorithm. We say, okay, we were told to select, I'll just say Sarah Lawrence Hall or something. How many beds are there? We do it, and we put it all into the computer, and then the computer runs an algorithm and says bed number 25 and bed number 45 have been selected. Those people get interviewed. So if you have students who are, maybe they're Asian or they're not working, they get incorporated into the mix, all right?
Does that same thing happen with prisons?
Yes. So, actually, I think there's something in there somewhere where incarcerated, I don't think it says incarcerated, non-civilian for housing units or something, some of it's separated out. You can kind of determine what's going on. So, yeah. So, okay, world regions, we have all this information here. Language, kind of spoken home, ancestry. Okay, so I like ancestry. I think it's kind of an interesting thing to look at. Sometimes it lets you kind of know what's going on in the area. So here we have Bronxville, almost 30% Irish. So you do have that. It is kind of weighted a little bit towards the European ancestry, so don't know about that. Okay, so like I said, we're window shopping. You can come over here to DPO3, you can click on that, and it changes the table for you. And so now we're looking at something different. We're looking at economics of the area. Let me turn up the margin there. Okay, and just bring this over a little bit. You can just move everything in if you need to, like that. Okay, so it lets you fool around with this on the screen if that's the route you want to go, right? So you can kind of look at things. So it's sort of telling you about population a little bit economically, but then as we go down, we get other things like commuting, right? So this is kind of an interesting thing. How are people going to work? And then this is the most interesting thing lately. How many people, or what percentage are working from home, right? So remember, this is 5-year data. So some of those data capture years were before the pandemic, right? So it is sort of capturing that. But things are changing, right, as we move along. Then occupations people are in, the industry that they're in, class of worker, income and benefits, and earnings, and so it goes on and on and on and on and on. And health insurance, do they have health insurance, do they not have health insurance? Okay, so that sort of thing is in there as well. And then I think, I do have here housing information, maybe is what some people may get questions about, I'm not really sure. This is just touching the surface, so let's just go to the top. Did I get it? Oh, sorry. There it is, sorry. Okay, so let's just see what this is. So housing, occupancy, how many rooms, units and structure, the year the homes are built, number of rooms, bedrooms, housing tenure. Okay, are they renters? Are they owners? Okay, and there are other tables that show how much renters pay. Are they paying more than like half their salary and things like that? So that is something that we do have in there to sort of help people figure out where we have discrepancies, I'll say, or we have problems with housing and affordability. So we go down, when do people move in, how many vehicles do they have, heating, fuel, okay, electricity, solar energy, select characteristics, so lacking complete plumbing facilities. So that sounds, oh, what an archaic question, right? Except the question is, do you have reliable plumbing? Do you have reliable plumbing facilities? And so this has become an urban issue, where people say, it's not reliable. My landlord won't fix blah, 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 blah. And so now you start to see that this is no longer a rural issue is an urban issue. Okay. All right, and then how many occupied housing units? I don't really know. Oh, occupants per room, I'm sorry. And then owner occupied units, what they're worth. Okay, and then we get down here mortgage information, housing units with a mortgage, on and on and on. Okay, I'm just looking to see if there's anything gross rent that people pay. And I remember showing this once in Rochester, New York, and we looked at the city of Rochester, and people were just like, oh my God, look what people have to pay for rent in that, and they were like, in that neighborhood, you know? So, okay, then we have this sort of information, occupied units, paying rent, blah, blah, blah. All right, so all these sorts of things are in here. This is the last one here is sort of the basic, just the basic count sort of thing. Okay, that's there. Let me just make sure we can see that. But I do feel it's a little bit more than what you see in the decennial census. So race. So here we have things about race, right? And I know you asked about American Indian. But this is really just the surface. So right here, we're just sort of saying, are there, you know, is there a percentage of American Indian? And then are they broken out into tribes? And usually around this part of the country, people they're not part of these tribes, right? So we do have another table that really goes into those tribes. And
Those four are always in, those
yeah,
are
they're always
in
in for the whole country, yeah.
Interesting.
And so I do want to point out a couple things about, since we were talking about American Indian, I have it on my card here to talk about, right?
Sure.
So you got to think about this, is we do have on Long Island 2 American Indian areas, Housatonic and Shinnecock, and then we have more upstate New York. So those are the American Indian areas. There's a problem with Shinnecock. They haven't been collecting data there, so I would say don't even look at it right now. But Housatonic you could, right? But the other issue is many people who are American Indian don't live on the reservation. So you can still get the data for the rest of the county or kind of figure out where the people of Native American ancestry are living. Okay, so you can look that up. It might be a little bit vague, might not tell you what tribe they are, but it will say American Indian. Right, so.
And would this like be an example, because it says the estimate is 5 and the margin for error is 9, so it would
That
be
is a good example.
like you can't really use that
No, you
because
can't
it
use
could
it.
be
If that,
negative
we
4
always say
people.
the margin of error is higher than the base number,
Yeah.
probably don't want to use it, right? So, but what would be, the other thing is Bronxville is pretty small. So you're not,
You have to keep that in.
yeah, you gotta keep that in mind, okay? So, and then we have Asian down here. We're sort of getting into the Asian diasporas, and then a little bit Native Hawaiian, that sort of thing. So it goes down a little bit here, and then we have some Hispanic as well, if you want to take that. These are the main tables, like where I kind of start people, and then from there we go a little bit further, okay? So, but let's look at the table itself, just coming over here so you see what's going on. When somebody comes to you and they're looking for this data, right, they can do a couple things. So you pull up the table for them, you can do a couple things. You can just pull it up for one place, like Bronxville, New York, or you could say, okay, I want all the places in Westchester County, I want all the counties in the state, or I just want one county in the state, or one census tract. You can do that, and often I just pull up all the tracts in the county, and you could go that route. It depends on what they want to do. So you need to think of that. Are you just pulling up one geography, or are you pulling up many, right? So let's look at this. I turn off the margin of error. Here's the table, and then what you can do now, all right? So if this is the table, and you've helped a student, and they come and they say, okay, that's what I need, and I don't know, does that happen? You actually end up doing the work for them, kind of, or helping them along?
With them.
Okay, so you can then come over here and you can share it. You can click on that, and here's the link right there, and so they can grab that link and just send it to themselves, and then copy and send it to themselves, and when they click on it, it will open this table for them, and then they can do as they want. They can download it into Excel directly, or into CSV if they want to go that route, okay? So that's something you can do with this table. Another thing you can do is if you just want a little bit of this table, if some people have 2 screens and we have Excel open over here, they can just grab this right here, they can go like that, they can right click and copy, paste it into Excel, and then they're good to go. Okay, so they can go that route as well if they want to. Okay, so these are the basic tables if we were looking at that, but let's just go back to filters and we'll try it again. So I'll get rid of, actually let me just do this. If you click on this logo up here, it just gets rid of it. We're back to square one, okay? So let's just try this again. So we'll just go to advanced search. And like I said, you go to year first. And do you think anybody would ask you about the 2020 census?
Sure.
They may, right? So if you came here, so I'll go to 2020 this time, and then I come back to geography right here, right? And then we may go to, I guess, place again. We'll just do it that way. And, you know, let me just, where's New York? I'll just select one place. This Bronxville, okay, and then we will come back to the survey. Okay, so now we have American Community Survey and we have Decennial. And if I click on Decennial, right now it is only what's called redistricting data, so that's preliminary data, and that was created for congressional offices to figure out, you know, how they're going to put their boundaries up. But I think the middle of May, I think that's, yeah, next month, they will have the data parsed out in all kinds of ways. They're going to start releasing the data, okay? Yeah, I mean the data, it's the same data, but they're like parsing out by age groups and things like that. So if we just click on this, and we go to the right and say search, it's now coming up and it's giving us sort of the options that we have right now. And so here's one of them right here. I'll just click on race, okay, and here comes the table, right? And so now it's telling us, how the total population, and then population of one race, and then so you know white alone, okay, and then we have African American and Indian, and so sort of just getting down there into the hard numbers, okay, and so that is here if you wanted to do that, or you can go back to filters, and you can look at other things that are here, like I guess Hispanic and Latino is broken out. Yeah, this is just Hispanic and Latino, different ways it's broken out. And this is here, the 18 years or over is people who potentially can vote, right? And then down here, let's look at this, group quarters, population by major. Okay, so here we have, because this is just about group quarters here, right? So there's a total of, I don't know, is Bronxville, are we totally in Bronxville?
No.
I think we might count toward Yonkers.
Yeah.
Yonkers, okay. So apparently there are 27 students who are in a dorm who are in Bronxville.
Or Bronxville, yeah.
Yeah, okay, and the other part are probably Yonkers, okay. So anyway, that's sort of one thing you can do with that if you wanted to, right? So this is just so you know, this is where how you get to that decennial information, but you can get down to a block if you know the block number, or if you wanted to look on a map, you can actually get down to the block number and see what's going on in that one block, okay? I don't think I'll go into that, but let me go back. Once again, I'll click on the logo, and let's try it again. So I'm going to go back to 2021. Okay, and so let's see if we can find information about Native American populations maybe. And we'll go here, I took the year, we'll go to geography, and we will select all counties in New York State. And here we go, New York. So you can select all counties, or you can select certain counties if you wanted to. And so I could go to surveys right here if I want to go that route, and I could go straight to American Community Survey. But I'm not really sure what table that would be in, so I'm going to come here to topics, and then I will look at race, and it's either race and ethnicity, or it's going to be, actually, do we see here, Asian? Here it is, Native, Hawaiian, no, did I miss it? I'm looking for
Is it under
It must
some
be-
other?
You know.
Maybe it's up, American Indian.
There.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is.
Sneaky squirrel.
So we're gonna take American, Indian. Actually, I'll just click on this one right here. Okay. Oh. Okay, I don't know the
Never
different
mind.
tribes, so we'll just go back one. All right, American Indian, and okay, I'm just gonna hit search over here, and let's see what we get. Okay, so now it's giving me all these different tables. It is telling me, I don't know how many tables it tells me.
50?
Yeah, I think 50 tables have this information in there. But usually it will push the most popular ones to the top. So we see that DPO5 is up here, but also when I see a B table, I know that it's sort of getting to one of those base tables, and I know it's a C table, so it's actually dealing with only, I guess, American Indian. Let's just see what we get there. I think that's American Indian. Okay, and we want the 5-year data because we have some counties in the U.S. that are under 65,000. So let's just see what we get. So we're getting this big table, you know, getting down to, I guess it's an estimate, right? Male, female, and it's going across for every county in the state. Okay, so we get this going across, and so you can go through and you can look at this if you wanted to. The other thing you can do is you can actually map it. So there's a little button up here, you can map it. And it will create what's called a quarter-pleth map. So it's a colored map, and it's showing you intuitively where you have more of something. Okay? But what it did is it selected the variable, an automated selection. So it just took the total population, but total population that are Indian. But you can also separate this out by male or female if you want to do that. So some tables, when I do that, I'll have like 100 things in there. Okay, but you can do that if you wanted to, and then you can click on it, and it will just sort of tell you where you have more of something or less of something.
But it doesn't tell you the margin of error here, so you don't know, like when you click on one of those.
You can go back to the table.
Okay.
You can always go back to the table,
Yeah.
and you can, what's really nice here is you can also change the variable in real time.
Yeah, here's the margin of error. Yeah. So yes, right. So we can come back here, right? We can change the variable there, or we can come over here and we can change our table if we wanted to. Let's just see what we get here. So often I'm going to tell you the truth, I don't know what will be in the table, so I come along here and I look myself, I sort of explore the table if I need to. So up here we have this, and we have that down here, but now we have all these other things, right? And we can sort of get the estimate if we want to. Now notice in these B tables, these longer number tables, you're not getting percentages.
It's okay.
Okay. So that could seem good, right? Until, remember, New York City is going to get thrown into the mix, and that'll just like obliterate everything else, right? Because it's such a high population. So you could do that as well if you wanted to. We can go back to the filters, and we say, okay, maybe that wasn't the way I wanted to go. You can actually search up here for things. It doesn't always work, but let's just see what we get. American, Indian. Yeah. So it does come up, so you can go that route too. If you go that route, it sort of locks that wording up here into the mix. Let's see if we get something. So we're kind of back to where we were before. But let's just see. Yeah. So you're kind of back there. If you want to get rid of it, you backspace here, okay, and just say search. Okay. So you can get that as well. Okay, but let's just try something slightly different. Filters. Yeah, let's go here. Filters.
I'm gonna have to go to another meeting. Can somebody just shut this off and come back and get it?
Yeah. Okay. One last thing I'll do here. So advanced. I'm going to go to year 2021. And we will come down here to geographies, and we are going to take county subdivision, if I can find it here. So it's not up here, because I guess it's not a popular topic, but if I go down, there's a whole list here. There is county subdivision. And we want to go to New York. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to come down here. I'm going to take Suffolk County. So we have all county subdivisions within Suffolk County, okay? And then I also want, I'll just say search. You can actually hit search at any time. Okay, so we did see that maybe demographic, so we can come here to DPO5. Let's just see what we get. We might not get anything good, but we'll see. So as we come down, so we have American Indian down here as a race. Here it is right here, right? Okay, and we also get a percentage over here, which is kind of good, right? Because some towns or county subdivisions may have, one might have 50,000 and the other has 5,000. So if you get that percentage, you kind of get a better feeling.
So you could map by the percentage. and
You
see
can
what
map, that's what I recommend, that you map by the percentage. And by the way, when you create a map, you can also save your map. You can share that map if you want, okay? So it mapped something, we don't know what, but over here we click on the variable, and here is the whole table, right? So we can look through that table if we want to for that variable, or we can kind of search that word, right? So I think it was Indian, let me see if that's there. American Indian, okay, in percentage. So it's just one race. Let's see if two races is here. Racing. So percent, let's see what we get, if we get much. We didn't get very much, right? So we get this right here is the higher, 0.4%. Well, let's go back to that. All right, let me show you something. So what if we say Indian, oops. See if I can find it again. Let's say we have one race, one race, one race, two or more races, white and American Indian, two or more races, black and African American, and I'm going to do that one percentage. Okay, so it kind of changes the mix a little bit because I think, so this is where Puspatuck is over here. So they're included in that mix somehow. Okay, so you can look it up that way. I'm not really looking for the tribal area. Actually, that's the Puspatuck.
That little.
David, did you show the histogram yet?
No, I didn't show that. Okay. So let me, I hope I don't confuse you. Let me go back to filters. So we have American Indian, we have 2021, and this is what you can also do. So it's up here in your filters. You say, that's not what I want. I want to get rid of that one thing. Get rid of that. Let's change the geography, and let's go to census tract. Okay, so we're getting more granular. Okay, I'm going to go down, New York, and we're going to take Suffolk County again. There it is, Suffolk County. All census tracts within Suffolk County. Okay. And I forget, did I map this one, DPO5, or was it a different? I think it was DPO5, right? What is this one? Let's just see what this. You know what? I'm going to tell you. You got to look at the table before you map it. You got to make sure that it's something you. Okay. So good to see this, right? So I put a lot of data in there, and so Jolie and I always like to show that you can. It looks like it's not going to happen, but this little button here says "Open the table anyway." So when you click on that, it will come up. You just sometimes I click on it twice. There it is. It opens every tract in Suffolk County. Suffolk County is a big county. And it's giving you all this information, right? As you go down, let me see what the table is. Oh, this is DPO5. Okay, but I could come here to, here's race. Okay, well let's see what we get. American Indian and Alaska Native, one race, total population. population. 2 races. Okay. Let's see what we get. So I'm going to close that. We come to the map. Okay, and you can come up here to the variable. And it's the same table we had before, right? And I'll just put in Indian. Okay. So here we have Indian. We'll just map it 2 different ways. Okay, so we have one race. And let's see if we get anything. Okay. So suddenly we get these pockets, right, that are around. These are just by census tract. I think that one is the postal tract. And then we get some pockets over here. Look at that pocket. I don't know what city that is or town, but it's in there. Kind of interesting. And you can actually just zoom into it if you want to. And it starts giving you all those tract numbers. And so there it is, tract number 1111.03. By the way, if you ever see this, something like this, that means they all used to be tract number 1111.00 or whatever. And then they subdivided. So let me just click on this. So 8.9% are American Indian of one race in that. And I don't even know where that is, but you know, you can kind of.
Look at the base map.
Is it the base map? Yeah, or can I turn on boundaries? I think I can turn on just the county subdivision. Maybe it's place. So it's around Huntington town for some reason. I don't know why.
Something's happened there.
Something's happening. Who knows? I don't know.
Families.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's happening there. So you can kind of go this route if you want to. Other variables, you can come back over here. We can change the variable if we wanted to. So we looked at Indian before, and I think, let's look at African American if we can. Race total, one race, black or African American. We'll go to percent. And let's just see what Long Island looks like. Okay, so Long Island, or it's not the whole of Long Island, but it's most of Long Island, right? It's Suffolk County. So you have these pockets around, okay? And so Jolie and I mean, we do show you can change the colors on the map. Right here, you can do whatever you want to. If you have students, I think, well, you weren't there, but Alfred University, she's gonna make them do maps, posters, like maybe they do economics and then demographics or whatever. You might wanna change your color ramp, you know, one is green. So I just wanna point out that this is sequential mapping. So sequential means go from low to high, or so it could be from it could be income, you know, up the ramp, or it could be number of people in an area, or percentage in an area, whatever it is. And then down here, you want to pay attention. You probably don't want to use this diverging. That's if you have something that's 0 and you have positive and negative. But I don't think much of our data is like that. Okay, and then down here, just in case, this is all qualitative. We're not doing any qualitative mapping here. I don't know why they put this in here. But
Well, but you know what, sometimes.
some
when
people use it, yeah.
Sometimes when you might be in a thematic map like this, and if you have trouble, sometimes the tracks are so close and tight knit, but you might be looking at a big area, that if you go to this, you could see like, oh, okay,
It's like higher
I'm
contrast.
looking for the green tract, and it will all of a sudden pop, and then you can go switch back to
Yeah.
one color.
Yeah.
It's just helpful to locate a
Yeah.
tract.
Yeah, and then you could also make it more intense. So my daughter used to tell me, so the colors pop, is what she would say. So you can go this route. You can, you know, bookmark the map if you want to. And then we have this thing called classing, so a histogram. And so you can change the way this legend looks over here if you want to change the look of the map. And you can do this. You can isolate one variable over here. And I'll put that there. And so now I should have right here, right? I have one tract that has more, I guess, a higher percentage of African American. So did you see what I did? I moved it over. If you, it's okay, if you
Change the
don't.
bounds.
Yeah, just sort of change it. So that is there too, if you want to do that route. That is something, well, some people want to use it, okay? So, okay, so let's try to do something together. So I just need a volunteer, and I'm going to clear this out, and we need to, so I'll let, you're the data person, so I'll let you come here, and you all have to tell her how to get to the problem. Okay, so what kind of problem do we want? Let's look at maybe, let's say all tracks in Erie County, Erie County, Buffalo. Okay, so we want all tracks in Erie County, 2021, and, oh, but you don't do it, they have to tell
Oh,
you how
they
to
have to
get
tell me.
there.
Sorry,
The sign says, okay, so, and we're going to look for, I think Ancestry, maybe, and we'll look for Polish, okay? So,
Got advanced search.
And when do we want to?
Yeah, years first,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's do 2000.
2000?
Oh, did you tell us a year?
No, I
Sorry.
didn't tell you. I think you want 20. I think you want 2021.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He threw a lot at you all of a sudden.
Yeah, I did. I said Erie County, all tracks in Polish ancestry, if we can find that.
So I'd go to geography next. And you go to county. New York.
I'm not doing it
Oh my
unless
God.
you tell me to do it.
Okay, so did I say what I say?
Erie.
All tracks in Erie County.
Yeah.
So we need to define our unit of analysis.
Erie County. Other kind of
Yeah.
eerie.
Yeah. I'll just do that.
Okay, so this is where everybody makes a mistake. So you're gonna go back up here,
Oh,
and you're gonna keep going one more, and you need to say census tract.
Okay.
Because you want all census tracts.
Tags right now.
Yeah, now once you do that, now you start to drill down.
Okay.
So you go to the ultimate thing that you want, not the.
That's right.
Where do you want to end up?
Okay, so. Okay, you guys are supposed to.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I went as far as you told me before.
Yeah. And so all tracks.
Then I go to topics.
Population of people?
Go race and
ethnicity?
Click each one, let's see. I guess.
Click white. Well, if you click white, would it give you the subgroups of white within there?
No. Yeah, so this is I'm gonna say I don't know the answer to this, we're gonna find out. So there's, oh, there it is.
Ancestry, huzzah.
Okay, so click on that, okay, and then what?
I feel like Vanna White.
Yeah.
I'd go to search and see what the ancestry tables are. Is that something?
That's for reporting single ancestry before
We only want single
You
ancestry.
you can do either one if you want to. I tend to go for single ancestry.
If you went to reporting ancestry, would that include single and multiple?
Oh, yes, that might be a better one.
And then there's the one
What's
that's
the
just
ancestry?
ancestry.
I don't know.
We can see
Let's
Polish
try them.
versus
Okay, okay.
Irish versus.
Which one should I go to first?
Let's go ancestry, let's go to the big
Ancestry,
one.
okay. And I want to tell you, this is, consulates call us and ask us to come show how to do this. Because they're trying to
They
figure out
wanna know
where
where
their potential.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, so this is just saying
okay, so it's just telling you single or
whether
whatever.
or not.
Yeah, so it's not that one.
Okay, so let's go to reporting ancestry. I want to see that one.
Oh, okay.
What is it that we're looking for? again?
Polish.
So,
Oh, did we pass it?
not alphabetically.
There.
That,
Okay, so how can we map it?
That's in
How do
one
we map it?
census.
and then
That is a very high.
So if you, oh,
Can I collapse them?
Yeah.
can you go to more tools, is the map under more tools?
oh, there it is. The map's like,
Yeah.
yeah. But I don't know if we get drilled down.
Right, we make it look really easy and then
Yeah.
you have to do it
Yeah.
at home,
Do it.
right?
So
I
now-
just
wanna do it.
Click variables, or is it gonna open up what?
Yeah.
Search Polish?
So there you go. Yeah. And you can make it, how can you make the colors pop?
Let's
Go
go.
to,
High
go to colors and do the higher.
Move that up. Popping.
Ooh.
Could we change it to percentage just for fun and see how that changes?
I don't
think
think
it
it
had.
Yeah, I don't think it's there.
Just this was all estimate.
However-
You could use the histogram.
Oh, yeah. I don't think you can get a percentage though.
No, but you could get,
Change it.
You can isolate it, you can find the highest. Okay, so how could she find the highest number of people on track? So one thing I do want to tell you though, is if you're doing this by tract and there is no percentage, remember I said a tract has about 4,000 people in
So
it?
it's
Like,
like roughly.
so you kind of know they're
Okay,
all,
fair, yeah.
The similar
Yeah.
size
Yeah.
totals.
It's useful.
Is that why they don't do percentage? 'Cause
because every data point costs us money.
it's
And so I think there's like a cutoff point, which is like you can't do
Can't do
this.
everything for everything.
No. So how can she, remember that thing, the histogram, or that, she just goes to classing system? Okay, so how can she isolate the one tract that has the highest number of Polish ancestry?
Just draw that font
line
way
over.
over.
Yeah. I think so,
do.
yeah, keep an eye, yeah, there you go.
Oh, there's that one little dot in the middle.
Yeah. 2,400, so,
That's a lot of
so
Polish
if you go from here and click on view profile,
yeah. So this brings you out of that mechanism that you were just in, and it sort of does the Google thing, you know, and it's giving you a little bit about everything about that tract.
So it shows you how many total people are there, otherwise
What's
you don't
happening
know what the
there.
total.
Yeah,
people
and
are.
it's
So it's like
actually,
half.
and it's even telling you what table that information is coming from. Under here is the
There was
table.
like 2,000 something hundred, so it's like half of each
Yeah.
tract
Wow.
Yeah,
is Polish.
yeah. And then you get all this information down there.
Well, it's telling us a lot about Italian.
Yeah, why would it do,
Does it say Italian?
yeah, why did it select that, it's lower?
Oh. Do we get the wrong,
we get the wrong tract. Why? No, that should have been it.
Zoom. See if this thing-
Seems weird, doesn't it?
Can we go into the ancestry data just for this
It's in the
track
right track though, yes.
and see?
So would I like go into,
I think you can. I think you
Just
could go
open that
straight
window.
there. I think it goes right to that one track. Census tract,
Yeah.
selected social characteristics. I don't know if that's.
Can we go, would it be in topic? Could we use the filters to get
I'm just
to
trying to see what it's
ancestry
pulling
stuff?
from, if there is something here that's like.
So we don't know if that was.
This is the right track, David.
It is the right track,
It's the
but it
right
doesn't
track.
go into a
This is
table.
ancestry.
Yes, here, ancestry.
Oh, ancestry. Okay.
Italian 500, Polish 2,000. It's just pulling
So I don't know
random
why-
stuff.
Random.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just giving you a weird snapshot.
That's why I say you
It's
don't.
not even the
It's
second
not even
most,
second,
because
yeah.
German there's 1,000.
It's not even
But
third.
Those
Sorry.
profiles are useful because
Yes.
it gives you a great cross-section.
If people are more asking about Italian like heritage, maybe that's why.
Or if they just know, like, I want to look right where my grandmother lives and see what
What's happening?
people are right in her neighborhood. Or I want to start a senior citizens, a new center for senior citizens, and you can now, you know, the age breakdown data.
And just to, so this is the total population of the tract, but all of this added together could be more than that, because people might have more than one ancestry.
Yes.
So it's like these numbers do not
Yes.
equal.
So this is the DPO2, right, that's right. DPO2 table, if it's a DP table, it'll have percentages over your sample
okay.
too. So if you can get to the right, you're going to see margin of error, and then you'll see some sort of a percentage after that. Oh, yeah, percent. So it gives you the number at the top, and then it gives you the percentages. So what is 29? 49. Oh, Polish, 49%.
Like the number for Irish is much higher than the percentage would indicate, so
Mhm.
that a part Irish, right?
Yeah, they could be both. Yeah, people are, they say maybe part Polish, part Irish.
Yeah, because I was just looking, I'm like, if there's 1,400, 500, 500, 2,400, we're
Yeah,
already over.
it doesn't add up. Yeah. So anyway, but this is the main way you would go looking for data if you had, you know, so actually I just want you to, you know, go explore, you know. Okay, so we're gonna use our iPhones, because I didn't realize we were so late.
We got very
Sorry,
excited.
I have a stupid meeting, so I'm
Oh,
so sorry.
Do you have another meeting?
I do, I'm so sorry.
Oh, do all of you have another meeting?
Just
No.
me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So they'll let you
I'll do
know.
it 3, so.
Okay,
Thank you
I
so much.
actually have a
Nice.
question, when you want to look at, you know, housing type by race, rather than just race and just housing type, the comparative piece, can you get it to, like, for example, someone I was working with, a student was looking at housing type by race in Yonkers, you know, where, you know, in this block area or census tract area, you know, 85% of African Americans own rent. Whereas the whites in that neighborhood, 85% own. Like that was the analysis. Would you have to take the race map, the housing map, overlay them and draw conclusions, or
Sometimes there's a table that will be helpful
Housing
for
by
something really
race.
specific like that. Sometimes, you can also, like, the raw data often is available, but sometimes you have to go into our even more advanced tools, like into our MDAT or our API, which, like, just learning to use the API is something which David and I are taking a class next week, but that's a 3-hour
yeah.
class, and that has, it sort of veers a little more towards programming, where you have to get the right string of
The
information.
query.
The right query, but MDAT is another tool that's helpful, but also requires more advanced training. This is the most powerful tool that you will be able to use to get to the most data points, and it's incredibly fast. You can see, like, we didn't skip a beat here.
No, it's
Right?
just,
And you can do the mapping, so, the other thing that's nice to look at, and I feel like there's been more, as we move more into we're doing more and more with data equity, there are certain other tools that we've built to try to harness some visualizations of this data. So whether there's a specific tool for broadband access that has 20 other, aside from broadband access, has 20 other thematic maps that you can look at. And I feel like we're moving more and more towards being able to get that data by race breakdown. But it wouldn't surprise me if we had it.
So for a place like
yeah.
Yonkers, I would think you would just.
Yeah, so here's,
But it's not gonna be distinguished based on a specific place. It's either we're gonna collect it for everyone, or
Oh,
we don't.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
it's like how the data is structured, yeah.
yeah, so here is what I did is I went in, I put in Yonkers 2020, I'll leave that in there. And then here, I looked up owner, renter, so that was under topics. I came here, and I think it was housing, and here's owner, renter characteristics. Okay, so that's how I got there, right? And then once I got there, these are all the tables that come up, so I see, so remember I said, you know, here's a DP table, but here's a S25 demographic characteristics for occupied housing. Let's just see what that looks like. Looks like this.
So you have demographic
And it
there.
gives that, okay.
Yeah, so you do have some information there.
Does it have
Percent
owner, renter?
occupied housing units. And then it goes down, the ages of the people in there, that sort of thing. Let me get rid of the margin so you can just see what owner occupied, percent owner occupied, and I bet it says renter
Right.
occupied.
So that points you pretty directly toward information you're looking at in that.
So, yeah, but I click back on results, but look at this, as I go down, I go further on down, then I start to see some other tables, and here are tables that deal with race. So here's white alone, black alone, so I know this is a B table, it's a base table, and let's just see what that is, but it is just for one race, so that he can compare it against white, against African American if he wants to. I don't know if that's something that the student would want.
But it's just like different facets that
They
can
need
bring
to,
in.
yeah. So living alone, so there's all sorts of things in here. So this is where, even though I showed you like certain tables, like if you're here and you're just in Yonkers City or whatever the tract is, you're going to come here to topics and start delving into that a little bit and trying to figure out what's going on, okay? So like I said, housing is right there, owner, renter, characteristics or occupancy characteristics, you might say.
But there was
So-
also the family living arrangements, so if you wanted to go to maybe more like,
Multi-generational versus living alone
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
family versus whatever.
Financial characteristics, so we'll just like,
maybe sort of make a narrative. even
renter
directly.
costs.
Right.
Okay, let's see what we get.
Because you do sometimes find those like race by age by, you
Yes,
know.
we also do, you know, it's worth looking at, we have a section on our website where we do trend analysis, and there's stories that are released
Mhm.
periodically, pretty often, called America Counts. And those are really nice narratives, and sometimes you can see, like, there was something not that long ago related to, renter costs increasing per percent of income, especially in,
Black or African American.
yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do this real quick.
Sure.
I gotta go, I'm sorry. Okay.
No
I'm
problem.
3 and I need to eat first.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. Do you need,
This was so interesting, thank you.
No, I can
No,
say
I
a little
can
bit.
Okay, so just pull out your phone,
Yeah,
and at the top in your search engine, put in ACS, and the second word, narrative
profiles,
profiles.
autocomplete.
Okay, and it'll bring you there, and then you just click on this, and it should open the website. I might not be hooked up to Wi-Fi
It's just SLC
here. Oh, okay, I think I'm there though, I got it.
connected, it's not, no, it's not.
So, first of all, there's a thing here that says use address lookup. You could use that if you wanted to find a tract that an address is in. So that's one way to
Okay.
find a tract, okay? But let's just go down here and look for, we're looking for place. So see there's you can do it any way you want to do it. You could do it by zip code as well, but we'll just click on place right there. And then as you come down, it will just ask you what state. Okay, so you go in and you click the state, New York. And then it's going to give you this really long list, right?
All
Everything
the
in the
places.
state, whatever, I don't know, all 900 villages or whatever they are. And there's no search here, you just have to flick through them, kind of. And I'm just going to find Bronxville again.
Luckily near the top.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, luckily. Click on the little radio button, and then there's a button here that says Get Narrative Profile. And you click on that. Okay, and then it takes about 30 seconds to,
But you get like the narrative.
you get a
I mean, that's what
narrative.
it's called.
Yeah, well, yes, you get more, and you can see you can see the tables, you can see the bar graphs. Some people grab that information right out of here for grant applications.
Right, sure, plop it right in.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in
okay.
Bronxville Village, 10 grandparents live with their grandchildren under 18. Of those grandparents, 100% were responsible for the basic needs of their grandchildren. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, so some people really want that, and some people don't want that. Mine, it's not getting it.
But the address lookup is a new feature this year, it's pretty
Okay.
awesome.
cool.
And if you can see, you should be able to search by other years, but the address lookup feature only shows on 2021.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Yeah, so you can get that, they can use that if they want to. Mine's still in, I just took the whole nation. Yeah,
So the
because
whole nation.
yeah, just to get some,
Nation, that's-
yeah.
but
So,
that usually comes right up. The other thing
Yeah.
is the other easy tool is, but it's probably not as nice to look at on a phone, right? David, is something called Quick Facts.
Mm.
yeah, and it's problematic because it only works for places over 5,000 people.
Right, so you're looking for over 5,000
Larger,
people there.
Yeah.
It's a different, but it has more, it's like literally just the facts.
So the other
For
thing
people who
about,
don't want to do data stuff, like.
so the other thing under each little narrative, it tells you the table that's there.
Yeah.
It might say DPO2, DPO3. If you click on it, it will open that table for you.
That's really nice.
Yeah. So,
Oh yeah, I see that.
yeah. So this is kind of how you can get into it on your phone.
That's
So,
great.
I mean, I know some students are going to come in and they just deal with their phone, right?
It's a mix. Here, there's a lot of laptops. So
Okay.
At least for the ones I get.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, those are sort of the tools.
Awesome.
And just so we know, I think I gave you the link. The last thing just is my tribal area, and you can go here. This is not my favorite thing, but you can go here, and you can. It's sort of programmed, and you can select your state, and then
Oh,
you
okay.
can just come down and select the tribal areas in the state. Okay. And so Pushpatak and Shinnecock are in there. It's a state. It's because they're
It's not federal, it's a state recognized.
the tribe is recognized with federal, but not the boundaries
Oh,
of the
okay.
area. So, you know, you can click on something here, and depending on how big the area is, it will give you kind of all different kinds of data over here. Yeah, if somebody wanted that. So it's my tribal area. I think I gave you the link in the
In the
I think
what
so,
happens
because
after-
I wrote it down.
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
So I'm sorry I went through a lot of stuff.
No, it was amazing.
No.
It was wonderful, yeah. I have like 1,000 questions, but it's too specific and it's fine. But like if you're in a tribe that's looking to get recognition, if someone wanted to get data about them, could you, if people had been writing in that was their tribe, you know what I mean? Would you gather that somewhere? Could people see that? It has to be recognized. Like you mentioned the Rohingya piece. Like if
Yeah.
enough people, can a researcher see that people have put in Rohingya if you haven't yet recognized that as one of the things? Is there a way to, is
The
that
Census Bureau can
represented?
see it.
Yeah. But a researcher couldn't see where are the Rohingya if you haven't yet identified it as a place, as a group, as an ancestry group, or a tribal group. Like people are looking at tribal groups that haven't been recognized yet. So we couldn't gather that through census data. Probably it has to be recognized.
I think it's in that Puma data. Not
That's
quite
it,
sure.
If I didn't pull the data.
Yeah, so we have Pumas, and we have this thing called MDAT. So if you went looking for Puma data, you're going in data.census.gov, you're going to get tables that have actually more data in them.
Okay,
That's
and
what you
can
were
see them.
saying, it was.
And you can see
I
that.
feel like if
Yeah.
they had questions that very specifically related to tribal data, I wonder if we could connect our field representative.
Or the tribal person.
Yeah,
I mean.
If a student, they could reach out
Yeah.
to the census.
No, the
I'm
tribal.
not sure,
Yeah.
I don't know, we'd have to see, but
I think
if
we-
you
But
had
on
a-
a case-by-case basis, we could reach out to
if
you.
you had a.
Yes, that's
Do we reach
right.
out to you, or we just use the general?
They just
census?
shouldn't do it the day before the
No, of
assignment's
course
due.
not. Of course.
Yeah.
Well, that's often what happens, and they have these wonderful questions where it's like, that's a PhD, I don't know. Or like, they want to know over time, all of the changes in housing, and I can't, that's a lot of research.
They can do all that
Yeah.
research, but
But
they
they'd
can't.
like a
take
table.
any time.
Do you have PhD students here?
No, I'm saying sometimes they'll come in with a
They come up
question,
with
and
really
that's a
big,
dissertation,
wonderful
not a
topics.
paper.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have free reign, but then you're like, this could be something you studied for 6 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's too big a question. I can't look at every unincorporated tribe and find out where they are. It's
Right.
too hard. So
Yeah.
that's part
Yeah, and
of
it
the
costs
thing
us
is telling
money.
them it's
Yeah.
too much.
But just so we know, just so you know, okay, so sorry, I know you want to get out of here, right? So data.census.gov, here's the main entrance page, but over here is this thing called microdata.
Yeah.
and it brings you here, and you can only get the data, I think you get a 5-year, but you can get it by state or the Puma level, and you can go in here and sort of create your own table, and it's sort of, I don't want to say it's a raw
Like a
data, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like the,
There's just more.
yeah, raw data, but it's like, it hasn't been massaged, and so statistically,
Gotcha.
statisticians say it's not as good, this data, but some people don't care. But you can actually find more data points in there.
Okay.
Right, on
Okay.
data.census.gov, like what we usually will say is that it's guaranteed to within 90% of accuracy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you see the margin of error, but you're not going to see that here.
This is just a little rougher around the edges.
It's rougher data, yeah, that's a better way to say it.